Today, we are going to eat some of the best wanton mee in the east side of Singapore. These are amongst the most OG versions, some of which can be linked to the very advent of wanton mee in this country. And we are starting here at Dunman Food Centre, where there are two notable wanton mees. So in this week's episode of the best wanton mee, we are starting off hot with a food war. On my left, I have Chiat Huat Wanton Mee, the originators behind Ang Mo Wanton Mee before they sold it off in the 2010s. And on my right, I have Dunman Rd Char Siu Wanton Mee, allegedly the origin place of the famous Weng's Wanton Mee, but I'm not sure. What I am sure about is that I'm hungry for some wanton mee. Let's get it, guys. Oh, there's no transition, we are starting off hot. Okay, so let's start with Chiat Wanton Mee. I ordered the $5 version, which is jia liao, and looks okay. You might be wondering what are the stakes for this food war. The loser will not get a rating. Let's get it. Very tasty noodles. I taste a lot of hebi. This is almost like a gan lao mian with a sambal that is made with hebi, and it might as well is. The shine on the noodles made me a bit worried that this might be overcooked or just have too much starch, but it's okay. It's not audible when you bite down, but each noodle is distinct from the next. Quite enjoyable. Let's move on to Dunman Rd. Winner of the Dunman Rd Food Centre Wanton Mee Food War goes to Chiat Huat. I like their noodles better. The integrity of each noodle combined with the flavors of sambal really stands out. It has like 30% too much MSG, which is really such a pity because like, why would you need that when you have hebi? Dried shrimps are such a good source of umami. But I like the dumplings of the Dunman Rd one more. There's actually finesse in this dumpling. I think they mixed in like a little bit of pork fat or something. The fragrance of the dumpling is stronger. The dumpling for Chiat, I don't really taste much. Like the minced meat to dumpling skin ratio is actually more towards the dumpling skin. You can see how the flaps are like so huge. I don't taste much other than flour when I eat it. And then to their signature chili sauce, I mix it in from the get-go because it's so iconic of their noodles. And I'm not too much of a fan of their profile. Yes, it's very spicy, so if you're a spice thrill seeker, this will be right up your alley. But that combined with the key taste from these noodles, this is the first time I'm tasting the alkaline taste in this series. And personally, I don't really mind it. You all know this from the Hokkien Mee series. In Hokkien Mee, I actually prefer the key taste. But here, I don't think that key taste combines well with the chili. I can't really tell what else they put in the noodles. Like, it's clear, so not particularly impressive. The noodles are also a little thicker, and you can see like the twirls on the noodles is very alike ramen noodles, because these form when you give the noodles the crunch. There's an official Japanese term for this, where they press it to give it the little grooves. This has something like that. I appreciate these noodles more in tonkotsu broth. Yeah, I like Chiat one better. Wait, Audrey. You're not going to talk about the char siu? What char siu? What is char siu? Char siu is when you char the meat and then you go and sao. But here, there is no way I can tell if this meat has been sao or not. The exterior is all red from food coloring. I cannot tell the slightest bit of browning from any roasting process. I'm pretty confident that if I strip the food coloring, this char siu will be grey, like your 猪肉片 in bak chor mee. There is the tiniest burnt bit for the Dunman Rd Food Centre one, but it's like 0.2% of all the meat. Calling this char siu will be like calling bai ji sao ji. A bit harsh or no? It's fine. There's no char siu in wanton mee. So yeah, I'll go with the Chiat one. Let's wrap it up here and I'll see you guys at the next stop. We are now at DengWenJi at East Village. I heard there's a ramen here that's very nice, but not relevant. I reached here smack at lunchtime, so it's full house, so we have to sit outside. This place was previously known as Weng's because they were ex-franchisee, but I believe there were some altercations, so they have rebranded themselves. And arguably, the clay pot in this place is more famous than their wanton mee. So maybe we might have to revisit this in the clay pot series. Pop quiz. How do you think this meat was cooked? Was it zhen, steamed, men, braised, or sao, roasted? No way, how could you tell? Wow, so smart. They are not playing with the amount of lard. They are like 2 tablespoons and it's humongous pieces. And our first wonton today of decent size. Anyway, let's just get into it. Within this one small slice of char siu, you have tender, as in the meat is literally falling apart. You have fatty, you have crusty, you have crispy. The way it turns from sweet to bitter in the most satisfying way. It's a bit like falling in love. It sounds very harsh to disqualify char siu just now, right? But when this is the competition, it makes so much sense. The two are incomparable. The noodles flavored nicely as well, good texture, although more on that in a bit. But the hit here is the lard. These huge, nicely fried crispy pieces of lard, and so much of it. The thing about lard, right, is that it is so undeniable. A huge crispy piece of lard is a huge crispy piece of lard. The punch is just there. Like you put this on anything, wanton mee, Hokkien mee, a bowl of white rice, instantly +1. The dumpling also has good size, although that's where the misses begin. The myosin not developed. You can see how loose the mincemeat are in the filling, and the flavor is rather flat. And that whole thing is submerged in the 90 soup. I don't like it because of the MSG. Not because I don't like MSG, but because it shares the same table as the bowl of noodles. Normally with wanton mee seasoning, there is a bit of MSG to just T-sian, and you don't want anything else to be disrupting that balance already. You don't want to add on even more because it's very hard to control from then. And I feel like going from this really tasty noodles to this 90 soup, back to the tasty noodles, it goes a bit off the cliff. And then the last miss is that the noodles are a little bit floury. And this is because the noodles are not shocked or refreshed properly in cool water, or at least not starchy water. What is beneficial in cooking pasta is disadvantageous when cooking wanton mee, as you lose that snappy texture where each noodle strand stands on its own. Still, not bad at all. The hits outweigh the misses, I would say. So let's wrap it up, and I'll see you guys at the last stop. We are now at Changi Village, in the corner of Singapore. And we are here for DengWenJi Original Taste Ipoh Hor Fun, but we are having the wanton mee. Pop quiz! How do you think this meat was cooked? On the way here I was reflecting. This will be the last I speak of the 90 soup. I will not have it anymore. I think it just spoils the taste. The extra MSG that it adds does not help the noodles. If anything, the soup should seek to provide relief. And I know it's tough to adequately explain MSG. So anyway, noodles. We are having the dark soya sauce version, very loosely termed as the Malaysian version. Because when wanton mee was brought over by Cantonese immigrants from Guangzhou, Southeast Asians around this region started using dark soya sauce to cater to the local palates. So you can suspect that Peranakans have something to do with it. Noodles feels good on the chopstick. Let's give this a go. Oh. Oh. The noodles with the most unique flavor profile so far in the series. Instead of the usual oily MSG kind of profile, this one bangs on dark soya sauce and a huge hit of white pepper. I'm not sure what it is about the combination of these two, but it tastes very Malaysian. The dumplings are unique too. One, it has a good amount of filling, and the filling has been well worked. And you can see inside they have like chives, prawns, minced meat, and carrots, I believe. Oh, one more hit. The meat, although it is not char siu, it's pretty nice. It is braised meat and it's very tender and soft and gentle. It goes pretty well with the noodles. You can see that it's still moist. I imagine if you drop the food coloring, it's just a tender, well-cooked piece of meat. The noodle quality is good as well. I think you all can tell from the wiggle test, like how much space is in between the noodles. But it is not cooked too well. Not by much. I feel like it's only 10% overcooked, and the flour needs to be rinsed off even more. I'm not quite sure how good a job I did in explaining this concept. When you cook noodles, there are two basins. One is the boiling hot water, and one is ideally an ice cold bath. But you can get away with room temperature water. It's not practical to run a perma ice cold bath if you operate all day. If you cook at home for like 6 people, by all means do so. So the concept is to cook the noodles to the point that you want, and then to stop the cook as well as to rinse off any excess starch. Because when you make the noodles, you often flour the surface so that it doesn't stick to each other, and you want to wash that off. If not, cooked flour will just taste like a sticky filler on top of your noodles. On that point, the first basin, the hot water basin, needs to be cycled as well. Because as you cook more noodles, they will leave their starch in this basin. So the combination of the two will affect how well the noodles are cooked. And in this aspect, just a little off the mark. Another piece will be the dumpling filling. Although it's nuanced, I find it a bit sweet. Because that along with the dark soya sauce, right? The whole dish is on the sweeter side, which will work for some palates. just not mine. Other than that, really nice, really well sauced. The color is just so appetizing. Okay, let's wrap it up here. I'll see you guys at the cafe. We are now at Chock full of beans, just across the bus terminal, and I got myself a dirty latte. So a latte where the espresso shot is poured over the milk rather than the other way around. Anyway, recap. The amount of MSG is taking me by surprise. I'm not sure if it's the places that I visit, but so early on in the series, the zing of the MSG is uncomfortable. And I want to explain myself well here. I like MSG, and MSG might be the most misunderstood condiment in Chinese cooking. MSG is monosodium glutamate, a naturally occurring compound that you can find in a lot of foods, particularly seaweed, tomatoes, and mushrooms. It is synonymous with umami, that addictive savouriness, and the sixth basic taste. And just like the other basic tastes, if it's out of balance, it doesn't work. The same can be said for salt, the same can be said for sugar. Thinking that it is a miracle powder that can make anything taste better is just juvenile. You use it at like very select scenarios. For example, 番茄炒蛋. You usually use like supermarket tomatoes that are harvested before they are ripe. You know, their color isn't even there yet. So to supplement the MSG that it would have gotten naturally by ripening properly, you add a little bit of MSG in. Or if you make mushroom soup and the taste is quite dull, you kind of want it to pop a little, you add a little bit of MSG. And I mean a little bit. I'm not sure how many of you edited photos before, but you can think of it as the highlight slider when editing photos. You can bump it up a little just for the image to look a little brighter, but it should not be noticeable. It should feel like the photo came like that. There's plenty more to mention about MSG, like how it came from racism, and ironically continued by the Chinese people, and how the harmful effects of MSG has been disproven over and over again. But I don't care about all that. I only care that why is it used so much? You don't lack flavor. 干捞面, a little soya sauce, dark soya sauce, light soya sauce, lard, sesame oil, stock even, as in a proper stock, not MSG stock. Things like this, soya sauce and oyster sauce, their umami level is very high. So I don't see the reason why. And like seven plates so far, maybe only Lai Fa Bar and WengJi is not out of balance. Am I the picky eater? Am I unreasonable? This is like Reddit/AITA. I want wanton mee that has char siu, that doesn't have the 90s soup, that noodles don't be overly crazy, and dumplings is plump and meaningful. Come already. Come, the Eldrick, the Eldrick identity crisis come already. Why do we always come? Why do we end up here? 1 plate I'll walk for the wanton mee, 2 plates I'll take a bus for the wanton mee, and 3 plates I'll go anywhere in Singapore for the wanton mee. And today's wanton mee is get 121. Thank you all so much for your recommendations. Please keep them coming in. You might have noticed that for the first time ever, we are doing 3 places in one video. So we are really running it down this series. Super tiring, but you'll all be worth it if you find that one wanton mee. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys this time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!